Now I'm blue.
Now we're all blue.
Okay. All right. We got the audio fixed.
Yeah.
We solved it ourselves.
I hope so.
Something happened.
Yeah.
We had fireworks.
Yeah, I saw that.
What the hell was that?
What the hell was that?
I don't know how we did that, but okay.
Works for me.
Yeah. All right.
All right, well, let's kind of start over.
Yeah.
The Eastside cocktail.
Right. The Eastside cocktail.
For somebody that says they don't like gin, this is the cocktail you have to have made for you.
Right.
And I would tell you, with gin cocktails, there's a lot of bartenders that don't really know how to make a good gin cocktail.
Right.
Because you can overwhelm the cocktail with certain flavors, and you got to have flavors that play well with gin.
Right.
So, but this cocktail I called it a modern classic on our Instagram. It was created in 2004 at a place called Libation.
Oh, how cool is
in
that?
New York City by George Delgado. It didn't really take off right away until Christy Pope started pouring this cocktail. She had it at Libation, and she's like, I'm going to make this cocktail. She worked at the now very famous Milk and Honey bar, which a lot of people will recognize that name. It's no longer in existence. And it was a very small kind of speakeasy type place. I mean, it was... If you think about New York City and you think of a bar, you think, oh, there's 500 people in there. Well, the seating capacity at Milk and Honey was 70. But they had just ridiculous amount of infamous mixologists working there. And the drinks that came out of there were just fantastic. And this drink is they're responsible for making this a wildly popular drink.
Very cool. Hey, Sherry. I see we have a couple of different viewers out there. I saw 3 for just a second. So that's the first one that's spoken, and it's not showing me who's popping in tonight. So hello, Sherry. Thanks for joining us.
And so you can't see any chat? Because I'd like to...
No, I can see the chat.
Okay. On the chat, Sherry, tell us if our mics are working properly this week. We think they are, but we thought they were last week, too, and they weren't. So... Well, ice. We forgot to get the ice.
We did. You go ahead and do that. I'll take care of a little bit of housekeeping. We have our YouTube channel is growing, folks. We finally got to 41 subscribers today. We need 50 before we can start casting live from there. Not too long after we can start doing that, we're probably going to start trying to simulcast to Facebook and maybe even Instagram. We'll just have to see how quickly we can progress after that point. But go to our YouTube and subscribe if you haven't already. That's youtube.com at Loquacious Libations, and our Instagram is at
Loquacious underscore Libations.
Good grief! Sorry, old man brain.
Swiss cheese. All right,
very good. Mike sounds fine, but y'all are backwards again. Okay, thank you. I will learn to use that feature when we get there this time.
See, it looks proper to us, which is why it must be backwards.
Yeah, and there we go, and there we go. Thank you, Sherry. Saved us again.
See, that looks cross to us.
Right. Yeah, because I'm on that side and you're on this.
That's why See, I'm really on this side, but it looks to me like I'm on that side.
We're still doing the Laurel and Hardy thing.
Of course, because we are fucking Laurel and Hardy. Just
all right.
2 jokers that get together and have a cocktail. Yep. All right. Let's make this drink before we get way sidetracked.
1 part bartended, 2 parts
Yes,
bullshit.
exactly. All right. I don't know if you saw on Instagram, we made it. We made what I kind of want to have as our context for featuring what cocktail, give the recipe, show it being made, etc.
Exactly.
So, but here we go. 7, 6, 7, 8 mint leaves. Now, here's what's important with this cocktail. You want to put the mint leaves on the bottom because you don't want to muddle the mint leaves directly. They'll overpower the cocktail.
Gotcha.
You want to muddle the cucumbers. You need 2 slices of cucumber and get the juices out of the cucumbers. Okay? And this is a really simple cocktail.
Okay. Quick question for you concerning the mint leaves.
Yeah.
Whiskey Smash. Would you do the same? Would you put the mint in the bottom? Or do you do that one to taste?
I think that one's kind of to taste.
10-4. Sorry. Continue, sir.
No, that's okay. All right. 3/4 of a...
Trying to make sure I ain't knocking into shit back. Oh, that's
3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. 3/4 of an ounce freshly squeezed lime juice. Yeah. And 2 ounces of your gin of choice, but of course my choice is Plymouth Gin. I'm a big Plymouth Gin fan. Hopefully they're becoming a fan of ours. They keep liking our Instagram posts.
Yeah, somebody's seeing it.
Then muddle. Now, when you muddle this, you want to make sure that the cucumbers are on top of the mint leaves yet.
Okay.
And you don't want to really, you're just going to press them in until they you'll feel them and hear them crunch. I don't know if you guys heard that crunch. And when the seeds start floating, you're done.
All right.
Then we get some ice. Pour the drink, give it a 10-second shake. This is one of those cocktails you definitely have to double strain because you got ground up mint leaves and cucumber seeds. And this just makes for a cleaner cocktail.
Yeah, definitely some sediment.
Oh yeah. Plus you're going to have ice chips because you shake it.
Like you mentioned, another shaker.
Yep. Now, garnish. Garnish with a wheel, but what's most important, take a single mint leaf, place it on your palm and spank it. That releases the oils, and then you want to lay that right on top.
Nice.
Then when you sip it, that mint will go in, you'll smell that mint, and it gets the olfactory system working.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I was going to wear a shirt
very
tonight that is basically that color, but I didn't because I wanted to remind myself Joe is coming to St. Augustine in March of 2025.
Nice.
Just announced because he released his album live from the Hollywood Bowl.
Okay.
And announced his 2025 tour. And, of course, he did that on his podcast, which is live from Nerdville. That's his thing, Nerdville, because he's a big nerd. And I've been listening to him this week. So
Very cool. We might have to make that. That might have to be
might be one that's because
he's.
if you guys don't know who we're talking about, he's a jazz
Oh my gosh.
blues guitarist, but I mean not a jazz, I mean a blues rock blues guitarist. He is extraordinarily gifted. I mean
yes, he is.
You can make the art, there's no such thing as the best guitarist ever. There just isn't.
Well, best is a relative term.
Correct. Likes and
your
dislikes.
Own personal tastes.
But for me, you can make an argument that he's in the top 10 quite easily. He's just that gifted.
Right.
So
Allie my daughter is on there, dude.
Oh, good.
Hi, Allie. And Carmen just joined us as well. Ladies, we're having an Eastside tonight. This is just a recap while Scott's in there. This is mint leaf and cucumber muddled with some lime juice and some simple syrup in there. We've got the recipe that'll be on the replay. We'll put it on the screen like I did last week.
All right. Well, yeah, here, I'll make it again for those of you that
plus
just
y'all-
joined us.
Yeah, we'll just do another one.
It's
So I
got
gotta do-
6
Hello,
to 8
Wayne.
6 to 8 mint leaves in the bottom of your glass. What's important is that it's on the bottom. You want it on the bottom because you don't want to directly muddle the mint. You want to place 2. Now, if you got small, I got, standard size cucumbers, 2 cucumbers that are the big ones. If you got small cucumbers, those are Israeli cucumbers, I would do 4. Okay, put those on top of the drink, and then we're going to build the drink right on top of them. 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. 3/4 of an ounce. Woo, a little more, but
Yeah, it's all right. It'll be a little tart, right?
yeah.
And
1 and 2 ounces of gin.
2 ounces of gin.
And this drink is shaken, not stirred. Man, just wants to hang on to me.
There you go.
I didn't muddle. I forgot to muddle.
Oh no.
I'll give it an extra shake.
Yeah, that'll muddle it.
I was in too much of a rush.
So while he's doing that, I don't know if you guys can see how pretty that is. The little mint leaf on top of it. I don't think. Yeah, there it is. You can see it a little bit. Trying not to spill it.
Mine is not going to be as cucumber forward as yours.
He always makes sure I get the good one.
Yeah, I do. I've had this drink before, so I know what it tastes like.
Yeah, he's introducing me to all these things for those of you who just joined us for the first time, or watching on the replays for the first time.
Now this garnish is kind of by choice. It's not a standard garnish. The cucumber wheel.
Right.
The standard garnish is just a single mint leaf. Give it a slap to get it to release its oils and lay it on top. Now, what you will notice is there's probably little tiny flecks of mint in there.
I do see that.
And this is a very pretty drink. It's a delicate drink.
Cheers,
sir. And you lay that mint on top so that you smell it when you put your nose on the glass.
Wow. That's really good. Different, but really good.
It is different. The cucumber plays with the gin well. Now you can see also why if you muddle the mint directly, that's why you put the cucumbers on top of the mint and then muddle. If you muddle that mint, it would overpower this drink.
Right.
So yes, that is a delicious drink. It's and now you can see why it just took off like a rocket in about 2005.
That is tasty.
Yep.
And the cucumber is almost the aftertaste. You don't really get it much in that first hit when you take the sip. But
Correct.
It hangs out
It's
the back
just
of your
in
throat
there.
somewhere.
Right. It makes it clean and refreshing on the finish.
Right.
But yeah, no, I've liked this cocktail. I remember I first had this cocktail when I was on a banking, because I used to be in the banking industry. I was at
Another thing we share in common.
I was at a conference in New York City, and I didn't have this at Milk and Honey, but somebody said, "Hey, you should try one of these."
Right.
There was a guy that I knew that worked for Chase, and he's like, "I know you like gin," and it was summertime, was hot as hell up there, so
Right.
it was one of those days where the city was very smelly because it was hot and humid.
Right.
Yes. For those of you that have ever been to New York in the summertime, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'll stick with Gainesville, Florida on that. Yeah, it's hot and humid here all the damn time, but it ain't smelly. Not like that anyway.
No. There's a very unique smell that comes out of the subway and the sewer systems in the summertime.
Never been there. Not sure I want to go. Honestly.
Here, I said this the last time that I was up there was for an Abiomed conference. I came home from it and I said to my wife, I said, because for a while there, for several years, I was up there once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're up there and you're up there on business, and it was always an overnight trip for me, so it got to just be a regular thing, and you take so many things for granted. Because I was just up there selling, a swath of mortgages to either Bear Stearns or Credit Suisse,
Right.
who I traded with all the time. And and it was an excuse for me to go up and have a dinner or get treated to a dinner, and because we were a good customer. I mean, the company that we had built was
Right.
substantial. So you take certain things for granted. You just, the homeless people. The last time that I was there was a noticeable difference in the amount of homeless people there was on the street. Mm-hmm. And I realized, kind of taking a step back, because my life had changed so much by then. Right. My perspective had changed so much by then. Right. That I realized, oh my God, this place is just an absolute shithole. And then I realized that earlier, the first time that I went to New York was in the late 80s. And
pull things this way a little bit.
The amount of...
Maybe a little more.
I mean, it was so much nicer than the late 80s New York City, but... Because then it was a real shithole.
Right.
But I'm just like, God, I could never... I used to remember when I was younger, it was like that was the pinnacle of the financial world, and it's
right. Well, hell, it was New York, right?
And it still kind of is, but it's things have changed so much. But I'm like, thank God I never ever fucking was really in that.
Right. Now, see, I wasn't in it nearly to the level that you were as far as banking goes. I was, front-facing branch was all I did. But
yeah, you were a retail banker,
right? But it was fun.
Oh, that's a taste of... You know who? Yep. You know who told me that I have to make one of these to her? My daughter Grace, who likes gin and tonics. It's her favorite cocktail. Mm-hmm. And because she noticed, because her boyfriend was watching us last week, and she's like, right. "Oh, you're doing..." She's back now from the Everglades.
Welcome back.
And for those of you that are just new or just tuning in, my daughter had an internship with the Park Service and the USGS down in the Everglades. She's a wildlife biologist, and matter of fact, she's in her...
super cool, man.
Yeah, she was catching pythons and tegus and...
My other best friend named
Scott. I can't
Scott,
remember what else. Yeah.
That lives down in Eustis now.
Uh-huh.
His daughter went to Tampa and is like in the same field.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I think that's super cool itself. Two of my best friends, Scott's, have daughters in those fields. Like,
well,
all kind of shit like that through my life.
You know, it's funny here. Last week we said we should always talk about music.
Yep. And
inadvertently I started talking about Joe.
Right.
And then a feel-good story. We always, I got a feel-good story for you.
Okay.
And it involves my daughter Grace.
All right.
On the second I don't know if I told you this story already. On the second to third last day of her working down there, mm-hmm. she was visiting. She had something to do that in Key Largo, some kind of something. Mm-hmm. Well, she has a friend of hers that her mom and lives in Key Largo. So she was down there for the weekend prior to working, and her friend and another friend of theirs mm-hmm. that are all in the same program said, "Hey, there's an internship at the museum that pays like $18 an hour or something like that.
Damn.
And today's the last day that you can apply for it. Did you apply for that, Grace? Did you see it?" And she's like, "No, I saw it like 2 weeks ago, but I haven't really done anything with that." And you said, "Guys think I should apply?" And they're like, "Yeah, why not? There's only 3 slots open, right?" So she gets on the phone and she calls up the number you're supposed to call, and she's ready to email her stuff, her resume and whatnot. Well, the guy that makes the decision, the professor that makes the decision on who he wants working in this program, is the guy who answers the phone. And and this is like absolute 11th hour that she's calling. She's calling like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right. Deadline.
Right. And so she's like, hey, I'm calling because you have to call. I'm calling for about this program. And well, long story short, after a very short conversation with that professor on the phone, he says, and she tells him, well, I'm currently working, between the USGS and the National Park Service in the Everglades, doing research on butterflies and tegus and turtles and pythons and blah 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 blah.
Right.
And he's like, well, you got to get your application in. Can you email that to me right now? So she's on her phone. She's emailing this stuff off to him right away, and he goes, okay, well, we'll take you into consideration. Now, what did you? He didn't hear her say. What did you just say about the Everglades? And she says, well, I'm currently interning a paid internship at the Everglades National Park, and I'm splitting time between the U.S. Geological Survey, the park, and then Florida Fish and Game and Wildlife.
Right.
And here's the people I'm working for, and he's like, oh, okay, I know that program. Oh, are you working for so and so? Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, I just was talking to her this morning about tegus. Blah, blah, blah. He goes, I mean, this is a feel-good story for me, but on the other side, it's not. He goes, you know what? Just consider yourself hired.
Oh, that's awesome.
On that phone call. Well, what's really sad about it,
oh no,
is her 2 friends that told her you should apply for that. They did not get one of the other positions.
No,
neither one of them.
She got the slot.
Well, there was 3 slots, and she got one of them, I guess.
Right.
But I'm just like,
And neither one of her friends did. Oh.
no, that's what's kind of sad about it, because I know both of her friends. They're very nice young ladies.
Right.
But it's still a feel-good story,
Yeah, and things happen for a reason. There was a reason they notified her about it.
That's the way the universe works.
They don't have any regrets.
That's the universe going, hey,
yeah.
you need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what's
very cool?
No, the unfortunate part about that, my daughter was doing some work in the fish lab for a study that is trying to figure out clownfish are having a problem with a fungus attacking their eggs. Mm-hmm. And there's a PhD candidate that's concluding her PhD, and this is part of what she's doing. So when she got this job, she immediately had to call this other woman and say, I can't work in the fish lab because I got this job over here now.
Right.
And the fish lab wasn't paying, so.
Which one do you take?
No.
Let's welcome in Coach Bridges is watching us. He's one of our regulars.
Yep.
And also Christy Bias, another one of my high school
fantastic
acquaintances there. So very cool. Thank y'all both for watching. We got a total of 5 going right now. We're getting good, man. We're almost up to double digits at a time over here.
For those of you that will see this on the rebroadcast, thank you for tuning in. Yes. Like, share, and subscribe, please, because we're very close to being able to live stream from the YouTube which is a much better broadband, and we'll have a bigger audience that way.
Right.
So
yeah.
And thank you for showing up tonight, Coach.
We've got 41. We need 50, so 9 more. Any of you out there who haven't, please go subscribe.
For those of you that just came in and are saying hi to us, hey, we're drinking an Eastside cocktail.
We are.
Which is a cucumber mint gin cocktail. And it is quite tasty. If you follow us on Instagram, you've learned how to make it. Or if you've watched us make it, you know how to make it now.
I'll be honest with you. I was skeptical about this one. The cucumber just threw me a little bit. Like, okay, how in the hell is that going to work?
Okay, one of the things we talked about prior to broadcast tonight is we had a suggestion from a viewer this week that said, hey, you guys should once you make and taste the drink, you should rank the drink and rank it amongst all the other drinks that you've been having. Now, we've never done that prior. But last week, Michael said to me off camera after we were done that last week's drink, the Mermaid Magic, it was okay, but he didn't really enjoy it as much as I did.
Right. Not one of my favorites that we had done so far.
And you like the Tom Collins the best so far.
So far out of the gins. And I got to say, this one is in that area of ranking. And I like this idea that the viewer came up with, too, to be able to go back and rank them. And
Yeah, now here's the suggestion and this is coming from a millennial. So,
yep, Coach, it is a very pretty drink.
Yes, it is a very pretty drink. Matter of fact, I almost wore a shirt that's exactly that color because I knew that color makes it for a pretty drink.
Well, I do have a little bit of green light on us tonight.
Yeah, that's true. You do.
And of course, our Hatter poster back here is green.
So getting back to
Sorry.
that is very well. But that's like absinthe green, right? And we'll get to some absinthe drinks. Don't worry.
Black light green.
Yes, it is black light green.
But yeah, Coach, thanks for joining us. Yeah, that's not only pretty, but it's very tasty for sure.
Well, so okay, now here's the grading scale. Basically, is A through F.
Right.
Now, Coach, you're familiar with A through F, obviously.
Yes, he is.
But then there's the other category. If you've ever had a student that was not an A student, but was actually that much better, or look at it as an athlete. Like I was fortunate in high school that I was a decent athlete. I played a lot of sports.
Right.
But I was a decent athlete. I was a decent high school athlete. I was good enough to play in Big Ten sports. Okay, I got a scholarship to the University of Wisconsin, and I kicked footballs. So don't get too excited. I was just a kicker. Okay, but then
more than I ever did, and pretty freaking cool because I'm a college football fan. So,
but I was fortunate enough to play high school football with two very, very talented players that were football players. One preceded me to the University of Wisconsin, Jerry Vance, and then another one that played on that same team, and we went to the state championship that year, was Todd Hernandez, who ended up playing for the Atlanta Falcons.
Really?
At the end of his career.
I love the way you say Falcons there.
Falcons.
Falcons, dude.
Okay.
I'm from Atlanta. Falcons.
Falcons. So now I would say those two guys were not A through F athletes.
Usually it's him giving me hell about the way I talk.
Yes, okay. Mike could over there.
Mike could, right?
So, Coach, what I'm getting at is I'm sure you've had at least once in your career that one kid that was just a special or an S grade, right. A special athlete or a special student. So that's how we're going to kind of try to grade these drinks, and we suck at it because we guess
grading yet. Exactly.
We haven't really started grading, but I guess, okay, of all the cocktails we've had so far,
okay,
which we've had, at least a dozen.
Well, here, we did a dozen whiskey
We did
Wednesdays,
a dozen whiskeys.
And of those, we had a blind and 3 tastings?
Yes.
Okay, so the rest of those were cocktails.
You know that this week is National Whiskey Sour, the 25th.
Damn, we were in the middle of gin.
Well, it is what it is.
That's all right. Either way, we probably got right at about 12 or 13 cocktails out of this is the 16th show. So,
okay.
Yeah,
so,
there you go. Well, 13.
Then I'll put it to you this way. Have we had a cocktail yet in your mind that's an S?
Well, let's see. And here, while we're talking about it, we always hash shit out on the cast here. I think we should go kind of by series and series and series as far as our gradings, and then when we do the retrospectives, we have our gradings from the series that we put together based on something we were talking about earlier. So, because we're going to need some extra programming here and there. Wednesdays are going to fall.
Wednesday falls, Christmas and New Year's falls on a Wednesday.
On Wednesdays, right.
And then, of course, the day before Thanksgiving is Wednesday, always, right. Of course.
So, yeah, we'll be providing some extra stuff here and there. Bubba Duncan is there, by the way. And Coach Bridges says, yes, had a few over 33 years.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So, Bubba, thank you for joining us tonight. But yeah, where was I? Oh, the gradings. Tangent went.
Yeah, no, that's Swiss cheese. Swiss cheese.
But yeah, I think maybe that's how we do it, is kind of go by each of our series and come back through and go superior A, B, C, D, you know.
Yeah, okay. I think we'll do probably a snippet.
Right.
So we can go back and edit pieces of us making those drinks, and then just give it a letter grade.
Right. So that'll be
That'll
of a
be
fun
some
thing
extra
that we do at the end of
content.
each season. Maybe necessarily, excuse me, I got really tongue tied there for a second. Good grief.
He's only half a
me.
drink in.
It's not the liquor. It's my brain today. I even told him that. My focus has been way off the last couple of days. It's the general craziness, dude. Everything's frequency is off.
Well,
To risk sounding like a nut there.
Well, one of the things that I follow, and I look at this every single morning, is I look at where the Schumann resonance is.
Yeah. And as a musician, I really do mean that. It's something totally different.
The Earth has been, Schumann's resonance is tangent. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Schumann's resonance has always been said the Earth hums at 7.83 hertz.
Emits a frequency.
Well, this morning the Earth was humming at 44.6 hertz. So considerably higher, and that has been happening more and more and more frequently across the last 5 or 6 years. And
you can't tell me that kind of thing doesn't agitate everything.
It goes into a much broader woo-woo theme, I'll call it. And I don't want to go there either.
And like I said, I said at the risk of sounding like a nut. But at the same time, as a musician, and Scott and I had talked about this before, and vibrations do things to people.
Oh, absolutely.
When you're listening to music and it evokes emotion out of you, if you're listening to something that doesn't even have words to it, and feel the emotion in the changes of the chords and the instrumentation and the flow of the whole thing, you know what I'm talking about. Some people can't feel that.
I don't know why.
Betty likes music. She can't feel what I'm talking about.
See, I think, what exemplifies that to me, because I know that I know what you're talking about.
Classical music has always done
Oh,
that.
my God, yes. Yeah, exactly.
Going to see it live. I
Well,
can't necessarily listen to it in the car, but
I agree with you. But here, it kind of goes back to last week's feel-good story. Last week, for those of you that missed last week's episode, we had a kid, real long story compacted a lot. An autistic, nonverbal child went to the Handel Society, got together with the Boston Symphony Orchestra and put on a Handel concert or something to that effect. Well, this child at the end of a movement in an auditorium filled with people, just when there was a pause in the music, and it was not a pause for a clapping from the audience, this 6-year-old child goes, "Wow!" And if you can go look that up on YouTube, it's been posted on YouTube. Right. And I think that a nonverbal autistic kid that all of a sudden that's his first words.
Right.
Well, it's because the music moved him.
Exactly. And pardon me over here, I'm looking for something for a story of my own here in a second, too. But, music does evoke emotion. Even sometimes when you don't realize it, those vibrations are still going to be doing things to your body and your mind and stuff, even if you don't feel it like Betty doesn't necessarily feel that emotion within the music. I can listen to something instrumental, and it can
give you goosebumps.
If it has the right feel to it.
Yeah.
It can totally give
You're preaching to the choir right now.
I know. I'm kind of explaining for the folks out there
Sure.
that might not be musicians or listen like a musician. That's what I call that. When you can really feel it, you're listening like a musician does. But those frequencies do things to you. Here, when you go to a concert and you've got that bass that's so low that you can feel it in your torso, not just your chest, it's your whole torso.
No.
That's a particular
feel the reverberation.
Right. Because of the length of your torso, you're feeling it in that area. It's getting kind of
Here's a better way maybe to describe it for people that are looking at you cockeyed right now.
And I know there's a few of you out there.
Sure. But everybody's gone to fireworks shows.
Yes.
And when you get that big boom and it hits you, well, okay, music can do that on a lesser scale than the impact, because you are getting a wave of I don't know, a shockwave, a small shockwave is hitting you when
Right.
you go to fireworks. But music has that same ability. It's just not
Absolutely.
as intense.
Absolutely. And if you see a show in a place like, the only place I have reference for like this is the Omni. In
Which is
Atlanta,
a bigger
gone,
venue, yeah.
Gone. But, the first few times I saw concerts there, when I was 6, and my mom took me in to see David Bowie, the bass, I felt it in my chest that night.
Well, and
and
think
I
about-
remember that feeling going, oh, I like this.
Well, yeah. Especially when you're
big of
6, it's, you don't have any other reference.
Right. But back to what we were saying, those vibrations have an effect on you overall.
They're having an effect on everybody on this planet.
I got a little bit of trivia for you.
Okay,
And
let's see how
this is
smart I'm not.
To a non-cat guy over here.
I'm definitely a non-cat guy.
Right. Did you know that a cat, he's allergic.
Yeah.
Did you know that a cat's purr vibrates at a particular frequency that is healing to muscles and tendons?
Well, that kind of makes sense now if you think about it.
So,
Especially for wildcats.
but I just think that's pretty cool because I've always loved the feeling of a cat laying on me and purring.
Oh, God.
That's always one of my favorite things.
That is like my nightmare. I'd have snot running down to the floor.
Poor Scott. He always has trouble coming over to my place, and this is where we are, But he takes his Benadryl. And,
Yeah,
and I clean up before.
I take antihistamine before I come, and
I
really
de-dander the place a little bit before he gets here.
it does it for me though.
Now, ginger doesn't bother you though, just cats, right?
Dogs are great.
Tasty.
You like this
I'm almost
one?
done with mine. Yeah.
You like this
I
one?
would say so far out of these 4, tangent again, we're back to the grading.
The grading system.
This so far gets the S out of this group.
Okay, interesting.
Okay. The Tom Collins would be the A. Gin and tonic, the B so far.
Okay,
That doesn't mean I didn't like the Mermaid Magic.
I think that, here
Is that
I
right?
would give them. I look at it this way. I think the only S drink that we've had,
Very cool, Coach. I'll cover that in a second. Go ahead.
the only F drink that we've had, in my opinion, now that I've had it again and I know how to make it better, it needs 4 dashes of walnut bitters. The Wobbly Gobbler.
That was definitely my S from the group of whiskey.
That
That's how I'm thinking of things now. This is so far the S from this group.
cocktail was, and I have to lay claim, that is my cocktail. It's my concoction, but it's a riff on another concoction from another riff from another concoction.
I think it's so cool that it's a signature riff, though.
It is a signature riff.
Right.
Because
Like my blueberry smash.
yeah, no, that's a great, that was an A cocktail.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
That was very good.
I'll take that as a high compliment coming from the mixologist over here.
Now this cocktail, this is a really good cocktail, it was been so popular.
I don't know if you can read that or not. Coach says, work with kids with disabilities, so I saw how kids with different personalities and disabilities react to music.
Oh yeah,
It's a proven thing. We even talked about that some last week. It woke my dad up some while he was what we later figured out was in the throes of Alzheimer's, or something in that range. We never really got a full diagnosis.
dementia, something.
One of the dementias. We were talking about last week the ballerina. That was a star ballerina. It may have even been Russian. I don't know. You might need to look that up. But there was a ballerina that they played a replay of one of her performances, and she was totally gone up until she started watching that and then started actually mimicking the movements and stuff. So music overall has vibrations, period. Because like I said, what about the cats?
Yeah, music has a frequency
Right.
to it.
It has a frequency, and it has an effect on our bodies overall, not just muscles and tendons, but our moods.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and if you really think about it, how can you not get charged the first time you heard Alex Van Halen doing the double pedals?
Hot for teacher, dude. Oh, man. Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Or, a lot of the other music around that same era and before that even. Here. The opening riff to Black Dog.
Here, I saw. I think
A lot of love. Is
I think I've told you this story before, but I saw an interview with. It was John Paul. Oh my God, Jimmy and Robert.
Okay.
God, I couldn't think of his name. And they were on Letterman.
Okay.
So now, for whatever reason, Jimmy was sitting on the end, Robert was in the middle, and then John Paul was right
Notice
next
I just
to him.
let him flounder on that.
Yes,
I
know.
could have jumped.
I was have a total brain lock there. Now we're talking about one of my favorite bands ever. Okay.
He's going to get me back for that one day.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry. Mike could.
You might could get me back one day.
Yeah, Mike could get you back.
All right.
And Dave,
Jimmy, John, and Robert.
Dave asked a question. He says, "So, how would you guys describe your music?" And they all just kind of smiled and laughed. And John Paul Jones looks at him and goes,
Awesome. That's so cool. JPJ was one of the best musicians out there. They're not just bass player.
Yeah, no, people don't.
Incredible.
People don't realize. It's kind of like we were talking about Andy Summers last week.
Yeah.
People don't realize, and Stuart Copeland for that matter too.
Right.
But John Paul, I swear to God, if you put a wash machine in his hand, he can make it play fucking music.
Right.
I mean,
Geddy Lee's an album like that.
Yes, he is.
He's in that same class overall. He puts the vocals in on top of it. But I think there's some things he doesn't necessarily do as well as JPJ did on both sides, keyboards and bass.
Yeah, I mean, because he did keys, he could play. I mean,
the Rain Song.
He could play the sitar,
No
and he could. Yeah, I mean.
Oh my God, the keys on just that simple Fender Rhodes on no quarter is not as
ridiculous.
Simple as it sounds.
No. But I saw. Speaking of not as simple as it sounds,
Richard Woodfin, thank you for watching. His wife Brenda.
Yes,
has been with us several times.
Yeah, awesome, dude.
So cool.
Welcome.
Thank you for watching, Ricky.
Well, Ricky.
Tongue tied, yeah, Ricky. I know him as Ricky. He goes by Richard.
Oh, well, we'll call him Ricky if you know him as Ricky. Does everybody call you Ricky?
We'll call him Richard until he says, "Go ahead and call me." Ricky.
No. Speaking of Ricky, this drink also. There's a riff on this drink that we're having tonight. That's called the cucumber gin Ricky.
Okay.
Okay. Now the gin Ricky, for those of you that are history nerds, we're cocktail nerds. I just realized that that we're becoming cocktail nerds.
Way to go, man! He's not an Alabama fan.
Okay, that's fine. We neither are we. It's funny.
I will give you a Go Gators.
My wife said to me, I was wearing one of my Badger shirts today.
Right.
And my wife says, "You know what I just realized about you?" And I said, "What's that?" And she goes, "You need to," now on this side of the shirt it had Bucky. Mm-hmm. Okay. She says, "You need to take that shirt and you need to cut it in half." I was like, "Okay, why?" And she's like, "Well, you've gone to the University of Wisconsin and you've gone to the University of Florida, so you need to cut it in half and have a Bucky over here and a Gator over here."
There you go. All right. Bubba says, "Go Gators."
So
he says, "Yeah, Ricky's fine." He's a Hurricanes fan, Bubba.
Oh, that's fine.
Sorry about that, Ricky.
I'm surprised because
that's our first game.
The Bulldogs are such a good football program, and I mean the only place that I've ever found that's as rabid of football fans as they are in Green Bay. That's kind of where I grew up.
Right.
And those people are insane.
Right.
Football fans. I mean, they will literally paint their house green and gold. I'm not exaggerating that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, people in this town will paint their house blue and orange.
Yes, they will. As a matter of fact, there are a few of those. There's, 13th Street, 34th. There's a house with the fast F, the baseball F, on the side of the house. The house next door to that has an orange door with blue trim around it. There's the two houses that are across from what used to be Tom Petty's place that's now the apartment complex that have blue and orange shutters.
Yeah, I've seen. Well, look at our recycling bins.
Yeah.
Our blue and orange.
Our
in this town.
recycling bins in this town are blue and orange. Our apartment complexes in this area fly Gators flags along with the American flags and the state flags.
Yeah.
This one does here, and another one that I pass on a regular basis up on 34th and 2nd.
So that just tells you.
Hey,
So
it's an SEC town.
But we're not SEC fans. I'm not.
He says,
I'm a Gators fan.
He said, what two colleges, Florida, and where? Wisconsin, Ricky.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
Matter of fact, he mentioned earlier he was a kicker for University of Wisconsin.
Yeah, for 2 seasons.
Very cool.
In the early '80s, I got the chance to go to but not play in. Very important point. Go to but not play in the very last Garden State Bowl, and then a bowl in Shreveport, Louisiana was the Independence Bowl. I think it was my sophomore year.
Very cool. Well, here I got.
It wasn't very cool. That one in Louisiana was a pouring fucking tropical storm blew up. It was insane. I was standing in ankle-deep water on the field.
Adjust this just a little bit here. Sorry, y'all. We're still getting used to the whole set thing and getting the views right. And apparently, we're both old and tired tonight, so we want to sit down on the bar stool a little bit. So
Yeah.
Lower the view a little bit.
There you
we go. Now we can see the table a little bit too. All right.
The Plymouth people.
Bubba Duncan says Georgia and puke signs. There you go. That's my boy right there. We both grew up on the same street in East Point, Georgia, and ended up living in Florida and rabid Gator fans.
That's good.
Now here's the funny. You remember I said earlier, little funny coincidences like your daughter and my other best friend Scott's daughter being in the same field overall. Bubba Duncan and I grew up on the same street. Moved to Florida, both now rabid Gator fans.
Both have the same last name.
Both have the same last name. When I moved down here, I was with a woman named Jennifer. His wife's name is Jennifer. At that time, we tailgated with him for a Tennessee game up here. He drove a Ford Expedition.
Oh, you had your Ford Expedition.
We had the
then.
Expedition
Yeah.
at that same time. It was even the same year.
I'll never forget that one time you came to work with full of mimosa trees.
Oh my God.
Even Lucas was like, run that fucker through the water.
He's like, dude, I'm sorry. I park under it.
Oh, that was funny as shit.
Lucas, God.
Oh,
He was still wearing his silver bracelets. But anyway, sorry.
What a number.
All right, where was I?
Bubba Duncan.
Bubba Duncan, okay.
Parallels.
Yeah, you could have stopped at Rabbit and we knew the rest. So anyway, we both had daughters named Allie, even though it was spelled a little different.
Well,
One was
and
Alexander.
you said Allie when I was watching it.
Yeah.
Allie's joining us. Is she still here?
I
Hey,
don't know
Allie,
if
if
she's
you're
still
still
there or
here, say hi to me.
But so he has a daughter named Allie as well. So that was just some really weird shit right there, just all coincidental. You know.
There is no coincidence. I don't know.
I agree with you there.
I don't believe in
Yeah.
coincidence.
There's too much small world shit in my world to be.
Yeah, that's what
coincidences.
I don't think the universe is as big as people
I'm out.
think it is, even though. I can already tell you one another. This is a very tasty cocktail
It is,
for those
it
of
is.
you that want to make this. Now, here, the gentleman that follows us a week behind, he'll be having this drink while we're having the martinas next week. And I have something to say about the martinas in a second, guys. This is a very tasty cocktail. In the cocktail world, I would give this.
We obviously agree, Ricky.
I would give this an A-.
A-. Okay.
Just in comparison, like I've mentioned, of all the gin cocktails, next week you're going to have. Next week's cocktail is if you don't like gin but you like Manhattans, you should have next week's cocktail.
Well,
If you don't like Manhattans but you like gin, you should have next week's cocktail.
Gotcha.
Okay, so it's a Manhattan riff.
with gin instead. Okay.
Well,
Gotcha.
it's really it's unique. It's different, and it's really good.
I'm really digging this getting into new cocktails that I've never even tried because
Or
I've always been so damn picky about stuff, and so as we've said many times, it was pretty much
yeah, but
Jack
see,
and Coke shots.
yeah, I know, but
Beam
see,
me up, Scotty.
I think it's because you haven't been exposed to it.
Right.
See, I got exposed to it because my grandparents were just. But see, I only got exposed to gin basically. Now
Right.
my parents were whiskey drinkers, but they were cheap whiskey drinkers. And as soon as I had a decent whiskey, I was like, "What the fuck have they been drinking? Goddamn out of the toilet?"
Well, that kind of comes down to almost the ancient age, even though that's got a very nice flavor for it still.
Yeah, no, it
for
does.
that range of price there. But compared to some of the stuff we've tried, it is. It's like
It's there's a
bathtub whiskey instead of bathtub gin.
it's there's a
Compared
reason
to
it's on the
some-
bottom shelf.
Right.
Because it's a very young, but it's got that classic.
It didn't used to be as young as it is now.
Correct. It used to be a 6-year-old whiskey. Now it's a
7.
2-year or 7-year-old whiskey. Okay, I knew it.
Sorry.
I knew it was something like that. But now
One of the only
now
times you'll ever see me able to correct him on something like that.
now it's a 2-year-old whiskey.
Right.
But it's that's got a very classic one-trick pony Buffalo Trace flavor.
Right.
And Buffalo Trace makes some of the best whiskey you'll ever.
And we have
their
had some good Buffalo
top-end
Trace.
whiskeys are ridiculously good.
Yep. Bubba, no, we have not sampled the scotches yet, but we have one planned for that at some point. Just don't know exactly when that's going to be yet. It's going to be a special one, though.
And there's some really good Scotch cocktails that we should make. They're just, Rusty Nail is a really great Scotch cocktail, very common, and it's hard not to like that cocktail. I could name about probably 3 or 4.
Bubba, at some point we're going to do a tribute, and we're going to try to come up with a bottle of the Macallan. So I don't know how you feel about that one. He probably knows what that is. Even though he doesn't know where the connection
if you're a
is.
Scotch drinker, then
Yeah.
you know that name.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
I took a picture. That was Bubba making that
Yeah,
comment.
Glenlivet, he says.
I have a bottle of Glenlivet and I have a bottle of Glenfiddich on my.
Glenfiddich was my dad's. Because, of course, with Duncan, last name.
Well, yeah. No, I mean.
That was his, though. When he drank, and by the time he came into my life, he had kind of passed that phase in his life and went, I'm not doing that much anymore.
But see, with
But
alcohol,
he occasionally would have
and
a
just
little
like
fat.
we're doing, we always say this with alcohol, you have to take it in moderation. If you start going, if we have 3 or 4 or 5, we drink 3 or 4 of these? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But
we don't.
I'd be crashing on your couch.
Exactly.
I'd wake up with a cat, and you'd have snot all over your floor.
Absolutely, right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to go to work the next day.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't work. So that's why we have one. So if you're drinking Scotch neat, which is that's my favorite way to drink Scotch.
Right.
Man, you can drink an ounce.
Yeah.
And you just gotta sip it.
Exactly.
That's
kind of like we've been doing. You taught me to do with whiskey.
with bourbon, yeah.
Yeah, with bourbon there.
Scotch was the same
other day when I came home. I put one whiskey bowl in a glass and poured a little bit of the Maker's Mark in there. I got Maker's 46 over here.
And here, that opens it up.
Yep.
That's delicious.
I even let it sit for about 2 or 3 minutes before I even touched it, just to let it get a little bit of the.
Yeah, no, it opens the whiskey up.
But we have sat here and done tasting without ice, which is the way we usually do our tastings.
Well, and another way to do that is you have an eyedropper and you put 1 or 2 drops of water and that opens it up real quick rather than letting that ice chill it.
Right.
Speaking of tastings, though, okay, our next tasting.
Yeah. Ding, 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 tangent.
Yeah, our next tasting is going to be 3 weeks from now.
Okay. Right, because
Which
we
would
got two more gins.
We got 2 more gins.
And then we're back to Whiskey Wednesday for a little while. Is that what we're doing?
Well, we're gonna do the Bottle and Bond series, which is we have coming up after. We're gonna do a Martinez next week, which is a really old cocktail. It's a gin cocktail.
Okay.
It predates the martini, but
Nice.
it's what led to the martini is what the folklore gives us. nobody really knows where the martini was invented. And the martini we're going to have is the martini that I made for my grandparents since about the age of 8 until they moved to Florida. They moved to Florida when I was about 12, I think. So,
Gotcha.
But then after that, we're going to do budget bottle and bond bourbon blind, and we'll do 4 of those.
Right.
So we'll have a 4. The winner of that will come up to the next level, which is now all those budget bottle and bond bourbons will be $25. I think the most expensive one is $24.
Okay.
So $25 or under. The next level up kind of is that $40 to $60 bottle.
Okay.
So
we're going to be putting
we're going to take.
a
We'll
25.
have 4 of
versus-
those. We have 4 of those that
Okay.
I can think of, and there's one of them right over there.
Okay.
Okay, but then we'll take the winner of this budget bottle and put it up against that. So and I think that'll
Gotcha.
give the viewers. And I had this discussion just last night with that viewer that said we should have a grading system. His favorite episode so far was the blind episode.
I enjoyed that one too, as far as what we were doing.
Because it was such a surprise, and
Right.
and it was a real surprise for Michael, for sure.
My first blind ever.
Well, I know. Well, I have a super secret blind coming out for him, just for him.
I'm going to enjoy that one too. I
Yes.
know I will already.
Anyways, then we'll take that budget bottled and bond blind winner and put it up against stuff that is real hitters. I mean, that's a hitter.
Okay.
Okay, which I'm talking about the Heaven Hill bottled and bond.
Right.
We're going to put it up
The only
against
one that I have currently.
Heaven Hill bottled and bond, Henry McKenna bottled and bond,
I love that one too.
1792 bottled and bond, and
can't
Colonel
wait to try
Taylor
that.
bottled and bond.
Now, see,
I just wrecked him right there because I know that's his favorite whiskey.
that's going to be a good night. I'm
So
gonna enjoy
yeah,
the
so
hell out
that'll
of
be the 5th wheel in that contest.
Okay.
But I will be shocked if the winner of that contest comes in last. I'll be shocked
Okay.
because that's just the way blinds are.
Right. Right. And I would like to work some more blinds into some of the stuff we're doing too. And I like the way that we did that last blind, doing the series of cocktails with the whiskeys.
Yeah, it's
after
like,
the
hey,
blind.
and our
Here's
first
how you use them.
Our first blind was basically, we went proof points from 80 to 101.
Right.
And all bottles were under $24 again.
Yeah. There's one $13 bottle in there.
Yeah, exactly. We had a $13 bottle, a $22 bottle, a $23 bottle, and a $24 bottle.
Yep.
So, the point of that is, hey, you can go out and spend, and I had this discussion last night, as I said. If you want to go out and spend $200 on a bottle of whiskey, you can, and you'll get a really good bottle of whiskey.
I can't see. Yeah.
But you can buy a $40 bottle of whiskey, and you put it up against that $200. Will you be able to tell them apart? Yes, but you'll have a direct comparison. You'll say, is this really $150 better than this?
Right. It's like you say, value proposition. Is
It's
it a
the value proposition.
Right.
Because here's the way to think about that is, okay, Wild Turkey 101 is my favorite budget bottle. Okay, that's my kind of my go-to pour.
Right. Mine so far is the Maker's 46.
Which is another great, and I know why Michael likes that because it's a weeder.
Right.
So I think you're going to like the 1792 bottle and bond
Yep.
a lot.
I've been wanting to try that really bad. So yeah.
Yeah, well, the other thing that's interesting about that particular bottle is the price point we found it at, and then what
Compared
I
to
bought it
what-
for.
Right.
It's just, that's some insanity.
It really is.
That's the whiskey insanity that's going on in the whiskey. It's the stupidest thing. That's just a greedy retailer.
Here's an example of how Facebook listens to you right here. I have been getting so many whiskey-related
Ads.
throughout. I mean, here, the silicone monogram whiskey ball and whiskey cube makers.
Oh, sure.
Different whiskeys. Now, different gins are popping.
Yes, because on Instagram, I'm getting hit with gin stuff.
Yeah.
Gin cocktails all over the place.
Here, the other day, and I can't remember what it was, and if I could remember what it was, I probably wouldn't tell you because of how much this blew my mind. I didn't even say something out loud, and within an hour, there was an ad for the fucking thing on my Facebook. I was like, wait a minute. The hell? Is this thing tuned into my frequency or what?
That's actually kind of scary.
Yeah, it is. So, I mean, I think, like Ricky said, there are no coincidences. Hey, boss, Deborah Adams is with us. She was one of my branch managers.
At Archer Road.
Yes.
Yeah.
You remember Deborah? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. You came in and met her once, probably.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. So,
Well,
for those
Deb,
of you who just
joined us late.
Yeah,
we finished our Eastside, and I'll tell you, this is a dandy of a cocktail.
It is.
If you go to our Instagram feed, you'll see the recipe and how to make it. Deb, I would tell you, if you enjoy a gin cocktail, make this cocktail for yourself.
Yeah, and anybody else who I talked to this week who might be viewing this later, same. Definitely. Get on in this one.
And kind of just to reiterate, came about. I call it a modern classic in our Instagram feed. It was created in 2004 by George Delgado, but it really didn't take off in 2004. It wasn't until Christy Pope started pouring this at Milk and Honey in New York City, which was a wildly famous speakeasy, very small place, but the cocktails that came out of there were astounding. The mixology, let's put it this way. When you went into Milk and Honey, there was 4 bartenders, and each of them had tenured PhDs in mixology. I mean, you couldn't get a job there unless you were an extraordinarily good bartender.
Right.
So, that's what made this drink take off, and it's not gone out of favor since then. I mean, it's still, you can go into any bar anywhere in the Western Hemisphere that serves alcohol and ask for an Eastside, and they'll pour you this cocktail. They might pour it over ice. We poured ours in a coupe because it's more of a delicate drink. I think you kind of got that now.
Yeah, yeah.
In the Instagram ad that I had for this episode, we poured it over a rock in a rocks glass. So
right,
which you can have it that way. I think
so
that
you actually filmed that portion.
Yeah, no, I didn't actually.
Okay.
I stole somebody. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, cool. Well, I was interested to see if we could start setting up stuff like that. If you're making your cocktail at home first.
I can tell you that this is a cocktail. I know that my daughter, when I told her what this entails, she's like, I would like to have one of those because she likes gin and tonics.
Right.
So
has she had one yet?
No.
Okay, Grace, do it.
Yeah.
You gotta have one of those.
Well, and I need to go because I have one other bottle of gin at home, and it's got maybe an ounce of gin in it left. So it's time for me to go buy another.
Well, we got 2 drinks. Let's take that back home with you. Make her one of those. We'll still have enough for the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, just leave it here. That gives me an excuse to go buy
another bottle
of gin.
There you go.
I got to figure out where I'm going to put that.
Well, here, by the way, ladies, I worked at a shoe store. I know all the tricks. People used to come in to pay less, and they would buy extra pairs of shoes when we had BOGO.
Okay, that makes sense.
They would keep the extra pairs, and I overheard this, a couple of aisles over a couple of times. They would hide the extra shoes in their trunk and bring them out one at a time so their husbands wouldn't notice all the new shoes. We do that with whiskey.
Yes, that is true. How to hide new alcohol purchases from
right. Thing is, you don't want to keep them in your trunk because if you get pulled over, it might be an issue.
No, if it's in your trunk, you're fine.
Well, yeah, and I imagine sealed still too.
Yeah, you're still fine. If it's in a box, you're going to be okay.
Right. So let me hijack for just a minute here.
Please do.
Back to our music portion that we usually talk about, a little music here and there. You remember a few weeks ago I mentioned the first band that I was ever in. It was called 166. For those of you who might be watching and know, Wayne Kelly will know the members of this band from Douglasville, Georgia. First band I was ever in, I learned Ready for Love on a mini keyboard. You remember the story?
Yes.
Lead guitar player was doing a solo one night, stepped off
Plug
the
me
stage,
in. Yeah.
20 feet, 20-foot cord.
21 feet later.
21 feet later, he's asking me to plug him back in, blah, blah. Anyway, go back and watch if you haven't seen that story yet. But anyway, Rusty, that guitar player, as I also mentioned in that episode, died a few months later in a wreck with a sheriff's deputy at 4 o'clock in the morning. And granted, he was intoxicated. But
Rusty was.
yes, Rusty was.
Okay.
But the deputy sheriff was doing 90 in a 35 with not only no emergency lights on, but no headlights on at 4 o'clock in the morning. Anyway.
Who was
all
at
that
fault? I mean,
Rusty was intoxicated, so it was charged to him, even though he was deceased. He was killed in his stomach. Steering wheel crushed his chest. Anyway, sorry to get so graphic and everything. I didn't mean to get melancholy.
yeah, my fucking frequency just
I'm so sorry about
dropped
that.
out.
But here's the feel good part of this. Here's the feel good part. His little brother, Brian, was 14 or so at the time that it happened, I believe, if I remember correctly. I worked at a musical instrument store in Douglasville, Georgia. And so my band would come in. David from that band was best friends with Rusty, so Brian would come in with David sometimes, after Rusty passed, and then eventually he would come in on his own once he got old enough to drive himself, because I worked there for 5 years.
Okay.
Right, so Brian and I, I've always kind of considered him a little brother of mine too, even though he's freaking
6'5".
Pine tree tall, and all this kind of stuff. Well, he's an extremely talented musician as well.
Well, that's cool.
Multi-instrumentalist. And last week, he's been a very busy person for the last several years. And Brian, I hope you get a chance to watch this back and hear all this too. But he's finally put some music together. And I have an instrumental that I'd like to share with you. And he gave me permission to share it on the cast here.
That'd be great.
So hopefully you guys will be able to hear this. What you're going to like about this...
let me ask you, how close are we to being at time? You want him to play us out?
We're at 9:39. No,
Yeah.
let's not worry about playing out. We'll still do our normal play out. I'd like to play this entire thing,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
No, I don't care.
And hopefully you guys won't mind silence for about 2.5 minutes of talking and everything here while we listen to this. But some of the comments that I've seen on it so far, let's see, he himself mentions it as very polyphia. I already got your attention. Plenty. Animals as leaders influenced.
Interesting.
Okay?
That's an interesting mix.
I knew you would like this because of that, because that's 3 different bands
Yeah.
he and I have discussed on multiple occasions. We get into some weird shit, y'all. This is all instrumental.
Well, I said we have eclectic musical taste.
Yeah. This is the equivalent of, like, when we were teenagers, the cool dude driving around in the car listening to jazz. That's basically what some of this stuff is. It's just a much more modern version of it.
Sure.
When you
I
come
get
down
it.
to Now, this isn't quite as jazzy as some of that other stuff that we've just mentioned, but it's a very tasty piece. It's available on SoundCloud.com. I'm going to place this link on the Facebook. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to put it
We'll
on
link it
YouTube.
below in the YouTube when we recast.
Well, you know what? I'll do a link below in the recast, and I'll also see if I can maybe add a link to it in the community posts from YouTube as well. I'm not sure if you can put a link in there or not yet.
I mean, you can just put it as a link in the description.
Right. Oh, okay. I'll link back to it. Anyway, we'll figure out how to do that. But this is named after his wife, Natalia. And it was called Natalia's Song.
Okay, well, play it, man. I'm very curious now. You've got me my piqued interest because very plenty.
Hopefully that's loud enough for you guys to hear. I'm not sure with these mics. We could always... We don't get it right close to it. That's probably too good now.
Oh, damn it. Damn it.
Laurel and Artie over here.
There.
Brian, sounds awesome, dude.
Get going.
He's all good.
So, okay, now, is any of it like your stuff? Like the drum or the.
I don't know that.
Okay.
I do know that he plays acoustic drums. Not necessarily on this. I can't tell whether it's sample or acoustic here. He does actually play guitar and bass. I hear him.
Oh, he's definitely.
So, Brian, we would be interested to know how much of this is BS.
I don't know if they can even do it. They might not be. Yeah, I like it a lot. Now, is this just a solo release?
So far.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you know.
That's a good
Yeah, you know, you think for the band that play this small instrument. I was like, that's the playoff.
Brian, incredible job, dude. I'm proud of you more than I could tell you. Yeah, you don't know what that does for me.
Yeah, no, that's there's a lot of talent there. Brian, what I don't know if you were able to hear what I said while that was playing, but I said, you know, if you're playing all the instruments, that
And he is,
speaks to your talent, but if you put a band together to play all the instruments, you could do a small venue tour.
You can do Underbelly, where
Yeah,
I saw plenty.
I was just going to say, a venue that would be perfect for you would be Underbelly.
Oh, dude, and we could go do a remote that night.
Oh, that would be. We'll have some swinging barbecue, some awesome whiskey, and we'll do a remote and then
with
him.
Brian Moore playing.
That'd be
brother.
a great show.
Definitely do that.
That would be an awesome show.
Yeah. So, Brian, really proud of you, man. He did, like I said, he gave me permission to feature it. He's not, from what I can tell, not really going to be charging anything. He just wants people to be able to hear his music, not for the notoriety, but to bring joy to people, kind of like
why we do this program.
Yeah, exactly why we do this and why I play music myself.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care if I ever get famous. So what? But if people like what I do,
I almost don't
and I
want
bring
to
them
be.
a little
I
joy.
would never want to be famous.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same.
All the shit
let's
that comes
get a
with that.
small following and get enough to make a little money here, and then we don't have to go viral.
You know, eventually, knowing us, we're going to do something boneheaded that's going to go viral.
Exactly.
We're going to learn how to do shorts in this podcast or live stream, I should say.
Right.
And
We're
we'll come
not
up
quite
with
at the podcast yet. We're trying.
we'll come up with something stupid that'll go viral.
Oh yeah. I'm sure we will.
Well, man.
So, anything else to cover now?
No, I think this is a good show. Again, I would agree with
Carmen, Bubba. Thank you for both for joining us. They had to jump probably in the middle of that.
Yeah, makes sense. Once again, I agree with Hatter. If you haven't had this cocktail, this is the best gin cocktail we've had.
Yeah, I will agree with that. Out of the 4 we've done so far, this gets the highest rating. I won't go with S yet because we haven't reached the end.
Yeah, well, next week's cocktail I already know you're going to like. I am most fearful of them.
I'm looking forward to the martini.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Because it's the king of all cocktails, but
it's
that is
very
an acquired
gin.
taste.
Right. But that's one reason I'm looking forward to it too, is because you're opening up my palate, and I'm starting to appreciate different things about these drinks. Here, in retrospect, even though I said I didn't really like it as one of my favorites last week with the Mermaid Magic, I still appreciated all the different...
That's a very complex girl drink.
Yeah, well, there you go. And maybe that was part of what didn't appeal about it to me, but the floral side of that was a little odd on me. I won't say bad, but odd.
Different.
Yeah. Here, sometimes when you take a shot of whiskey or something, you still make the stink face. even if you're not offended by it. You know what I mean?
Well, especially if it's your first taste.
Yeah.
Then it's like...
I had to work on that last week and not make the same face to start out with.
No, see,
but it wasn't unpleasant.
And I think that kind of goes to the conversation I had yesterday is, okay, I would grade that a C. But you would have graded that last week if I'd asked you, what do you grade this?
Immediately, I would have said,
you would have graded, that's an F. It's an F for me.
Now, I'm in that C range with it.
That's a C drink. Yeah. I mean, and I would say this, that's the first time that I made that drink, too. So, if anything, I would tone down the lime. And I would tone down the elderflower syrup a little bit in that drink, and that would make the pea flower gin come through better.
Right. Maybe that is what overpowered it for me.
And that's, now see, I've made this drink in the past. I know how to make this drink.
Right.
When you make cocktails,
that's
one of the things.
The Eastside was a winner. And kind of appropriate for the city of Gainesville. We have an Eastside here.
Everybody's got an Eastside, man.
You guys have a great week. We will see you next week with a Martinez.
One of the oldest cocktails in existence. We'll see you next week.
You guys have a great week.
Peace.